I'd like to welcome you all to this first of a two-part video series for your class. This first video deals with and dives into the Windows 7 Aero graphics package as well as the Windows 7 Aero graphics features that are included within that package. We're going to start off talking briefly about the requirements that Windows Aero needs in order to work within the Windows 7 environment. We'll also talk about the features that are presented to you with the Windows graphics package known as Aero. So we're going to talk about Windows Aero Peak, Windows Aero Snap, Windows Aero Shake, Windows Aero 3D, as well as the Windows Aero film strip with built-in Peak. Okay, so the first part of this, I'd like to just go over the requirements. You've successfully completed Module 3 of your class, so you know the requirements, but I briefly want to mention them again. I'm going to go ahead and click the Windows button here, and I'm going to open up Computer Management by right-clicking Computer and going to Manage. And then I'm going to maximize the Computer Management window here, and we're going to double-click Device Manager, which is a graphic depiction of all of your hardware devices. Since we're talking about the Aero graphics package, I want to go ahead and double-click Display Adapters, double-click NVIDIA Quadro NVS140M. This is, of course, the video adapter in this particular machine that I'm using. This particular graphics controller does, in fact, support the drivers for Windows 7 Aero. They are called the WDDM driver set, the Windows Display Driver Model version 1.1. It's very important that when we're choosing video cards to work with Windows 7 Aero, we choose the 1.1 driver. Very important. You learned about the memory savings benefit as well as the performance increase benefit to the Windows 7 version of Aero. Well, that is only achieved by using the 1.1 video drivers. This particular card, the Quadro NVS140M, does in fact now support the 1.1 drivers via a Windows update. The initial installation of this driver really only supported the version 1.0 Vista Aero drivers, which of course will not give us the memory savings and the performance increase while using Windows 7. Very important. You can see here that I have the rollback driver button, and it is in fact available. It is not grayed out. That tells us that there was an update to this driver, which in fact in this scenario was the 1.1 WDDM driver. So requirement number one, in order to use Aero to capture and manage your graphics for Windows 7, you must use the 1.1 driver set. Otherwise, we can still have Windows Aero, but we will be using Windows Aero as if we had the Vista operating system, and you already know about the issues that the Vista 1.0 drivers provided. Memory as well as performance issues. Okay, let me close these. Let's also take a look one other location. I'm going to right click on the desktop. I'm going to go to Personalize. We're going to maximize the default personalization window known as Change the Visuals and Sounds on your computer control panel item. And right in the middle here, you will see the Aero themes. In order for us to use the Windows Aero graphics package, we must choose a Windows Aero theme. So I'm going to go ahead and let's choose Landscapes this time around. And I'm going to minimize this control panel item, and you'll see the new background that I've chosen. Now, when I just chose that Aero theme, yes, it looks fantastic, but also behind the scenes, something very important did in fact happen. The color actually changed in terms of its configuration. The Windows color is now 32 bits per pixel. That is requirement number 2. We must have our color set to 32 bits per pixel in order for Windows Aero to render. Now I can have more color per pixel, that's fine. But the minimum requirement is 32 bits of color per pixel. So the drivers 1.1, 32 bits per pixel of color. Don't forget 128 megs minimum of dedicated graphics memory, as well as the support for Pixel Shader version 2.0 to be rendered within hardware, meaning the graphics processor itself must render the Pixel Shader application. Very, very important. Of course, in order to install Windows 7, we need to have those requirements met as well. Just a quick review. As I said, I know you got through Module 3, so you should be comfortable with those requirements. If you have any questions regarding those requirements, please feel free to see your instructor. Okay, well, what does Aero actually do for you then? Now that we have it set up, we have it installed, what does it do for you? Well, the first thing I want to discuss with you is Windows transparency. I'm going to go ahead and open up Computer. Any window will do. Notice the border at the top of the window. It is transparent. As you can see, this beautiful red, canyon shows right through the border of the window. A lot of people call this eye candy. However, there is a real medical advancement to this window and the transparency of the border. Yes, I did say medical. Unfortunately, some people are prone to migraine headaches. When they have multiple windows open, let's say in Windows XP, of course we did not have transparency in the border of the window. We had solid borders. Whatever color they were solid. Very difficult for some folks to focus on a single open window with another open window as well on the desktop. Your eye kind of gravitated to both windows and you kind of switched back and forth between each window. Well, what did this do to you? Unfortunately, it puts undue strain on not only your retina but your optic nerve. And if you are the type of person that is prone to migraine headaches, this can bring on a migraine headache. With a lot of research, a lot of working with ophthalmologists and various eye specialists, Microsoft came up with the transparent border. The transparency makes the window itself look softer and less harsh to the eye. Therefore, your retina's not working as hard to focus on the window. Your optic nerve is then not feeling the strain of all of that retina focusing and so forth. Therefore, you are less prone to migraine headaches. So, yep, there's eye candy there for sure. It looks really cool. But also for people who are constantly working with multiple windows, and for those people who are dealing with migraine headache issues, this is going to be a huge benefit. Only available in the Aero graphics package. That is Windows Transparency. Now we can adjust those transparency settings. I close those windows. I'm going to right click the desktop. I'm going to go to personalize, and you will see at the bottom of the personalization default window I have window color. I'm going to go ahead and click that. Notice I can change the color of the actual border, but most importantly I have the enable transparency option, which is chosen. It is checked. By the way, that is checked by default when Windows Aero is turned on. Since we chose that Aero theme, I now have transparency. But look at the slider here. I can adjust this slider to the left and to the right. As I bring it more to the right, what happens to that border? Well, the transparency kind of goes away for the most part, and the color becomes more intense. As I drag it to the left, notice you can see the background showing through the border. Drag it to the left, the color becomes less intensive, but the transparency increases. So you can make some adjustments to the transparency as well. Understand enable transparency. That showed up when we chose the border, in this case Aero theme known as landscape. That gave us 32 bits of color per pixel. That gave us the transparency, and of course that gave us all of the different backgrounds and photographs and so forth that came with that theme. Now, you do not need to use an arrow theme in order to use arrow. Yes, it technically is an arrow theme, but my point is you don't have to have one of these themes with all of the backgrounds in them. I can just choose the default Windows 7 arrow theme, which I just did. There are no other backgrounds. There's only one associated with that. This is what it looks like. I still get my transparency and so forth through the borders, but the background will not change. So if I don't want backgrounds changing and all of that, I can simply go in and I can choose the Windows 7 arrow theme. But again, if you're looking for a little bit more eye candy, I can choose one of the many arrow themes that are out there and available to you. I just chose United States. I downloaded a bunch of these and I got them right here. Get more themes online. Feel free to look at those. There's actually some pretty cool ones there. Okay, transparency, arrow theme, pixels, very, very important to understanding the Aero graphics package. Well, what does Aero do for us but besides transparency? Well, let's talk about the remaining features in Windows Aero. The first one I want to talk about is the Aero film strip of minimized windows with built-in peak. That's a mouthful, but it will make sense as we go through it. So let me go ahead and click the Windows Start button. I'm going to open up 4 different windows: Documents, Pictures, Music, and Games. We'll open up these 4 windows. And I'm going to go ahead and minimize all 4 of these windows. Didn't close them, I minimized them. They are now all on the bottom here in the taskbar. Notice this stacked folder icon right here. I moused over it, and what happened? Well, I have a film strip view. It looks like a film strip, right? Each of those 4 windows is showing up in its own icon. However, it's kind of hard to read exactly what's inside or on that window, right? Yeah, it says Documents. That's easy to understand in this example. But what if this was 4 different spreadsheets and I didn't know which spreadsheet did what? Well, built into this film strip, I have what's known as Aero Peak. Aero Peak allows me to quickly maximize that window, which is represented by the icon in the film strip, to view its contents. How do I do that? Very simple. Take your mouse. We're not clicking here. We're going to move the mouse over one of those icons. Notice what happened. In this case, Documents opened up. I've got a peek inside. I know what's there. Move the mouse over to the next one. Now the Pictures window's in focus. Next one, Music. Next one, Games. You get my point. I can peek inside the minimized window to see exactly what it's all about. So I've got my 4 spreadsheets minimized. I know, okay, this is the R&D spreadsheet. This is my customer spreadsheet. You get my point. I can move through them efficiently to get to the information I need quickly. That is the film strip. That is the first way to get to the film strip. We have another way as well. Next to the space bar, I have the Alt key. If you go ahead and hold down the Alt key and then hold down the Tab key, notice what I have. I have the film strip again. Okay? I'm holding down the Alt key. Now I'm just going to use the Tab button to move to the next minimized window. Notice what happens automatically. I'm not using a mouse. I'm using the Tab key to scroll through the minimized windows. And lo and behold, I can peek inside of them to see exactly what they are. Again, think about those 4 spreadsheets. I'm scrolling through them. When I land on one and I decide this is the location I want to be in, simply let go of all the keys, and now I have that particular window ready for me to use. That is another way to get to the film strip with built-in peak. Okay? Now, I have a third way of using peak, but not the film strip. The third way that I can use peak is very simple. Let me go ahead and open up all these windows again. There's 3 of them, and Let's open up that fourth one. Okay, I have 4 windows now open up. The problem with having multiple windows opened up on your desktop is what? Well, you really can't see your desktop. You might be thinking, well, why do I want to see my desktop? There's just a bunch of my icons on there. Agreed, but what if you're using Windows gadgets? Let me go in here. I hit the start button. In the search bar, I'm going to type gadget, and I'm going to click the desktop gadgets gallery, and I'm going to double click the feed headlines gadget, and we just put it on the desktop, right? And of course, what can I do with this? I can move it around. I can really do whatever I want with this particular gadget, right? But notice what happens. One of my open windows can take over that gadget. Now I can't see it. Well, let's pretend you're a stockbroker and you've got a bunch of windows open. One of them is your customers that you're calling. The other one is just a simple spreadsheet, whatever it is. But your stock ticker is now hidden. So you need to do your job. You need to have these windows open, but you also want to see that stock ticker, and it's kind of a pain to keep moving windows and so forth around. Well, we have the ability here to use the new peek feature built into the new Windows 7 Show Desktop button. That is all the way in the bottom right-hand side of the screen to the right of the clock. If I mouse over that little rectangle, not click it, mouse over it, notice what happened. All of my windows did not close, they temporarily disappeared. What can I see? Well, I can see my gadgets, I can see my icons, and so forth on the desktop. Notice, however, I still see the borders, or what represents the border of the window, letting me know that, hey, I still have open windows there. Well, if I mouse off of that Show Desktop button, just move your mouse off of it, notice what happens. They all come back up. So I can mouse over and peek to see my desktop, mouse off to open my windows. Mouse over, there's my stock ticker. I know that Microsoft stock is still doing great. Now I can go back to work and so forth. You get my point. Windows Peek works really in 3 different locations. Off of the folded folders button here, off of the film strip view by hitting the Alt key and the Tab key, as well as the mouse over the Show Desktop button allows us to peek and see the resources below. Let me go ahead and click the minus sign to minimize these windows. I'm going to close this gadget, and the next place I want to right click on the Start button. We're going to go to Properties of the Start button. We're going to go to the Taskbar tab. Notice the bottom configuration location. Preview Desktop with Arrow Peek. This is where I can enable or disable Arrow Peek. Simply unchecking the box will now turn off the ability to see the desktop, or I can click it to turn it back on. Okay, so this is where we would configure Arrow Peek. Okay, the next little feature I want to talk to you about is really my second favorite of the two. Still dealing with minimized windows, I have the ability to use what's known as Arrow Flip 3D. Okay, again, I'm going to mouse over these folders. I still have my 3 minimized windows there. I have my minimized window over here, which is my default programs location, and I want to be able to see them all. I have another option. The Windows key looks like the Windows flag on your keyboard. Hold it down. At the same time, start clicking the Tab key, and you will see those windows show up as icons inside of what I like to call a virtual Rolodex. Looks like the old Rolodex, right? When you find the window that you're interested in, stop. Make sure it's first in line there. Let go of the actual Windows buttons, and you will see there is the minimize window now maximized on your desktop. Hit it again. You can scroll through to the next one. and the next one. This is Windows Flip 3D. Notice one of the locations is also your desktop. I can click that, let go. There we go. We're back to the desktop. That is Windows Aero 3D or Flip 3D. So we have the Aero film strip, we have the Aero 3D. My favorite Windows Aero feature is Aero Snap. Notice I have these minimized windows. Let's go ahead and take two of them. I'm going to go ahead, film strip pops up, peak pops up. I'm going to click one. Now I have two windows. Remember with old XP, if I wanted to have these two windows kind of maximized side by side, I had to go through all of this stuff, right? I had to drag it out, and I had to make sure I'm capturing as much as I can, so hopefully I'm not using these lovely scroll bars and all that on the windows. Okay, that's pretty good. That took what, maybe 20 seconds to do all that, and it's still not perfect? That's a real pain, right? Well, we have the new Aero Snap feature. Very simply, I can capture the window. How do I do that? Move the mouse into the upper transparent border, hold the left mouse button down, and drag the mouse and the window to the right. Notice what it did. It captured the right side of the desktop. Grab the other one, capture it, hold the left mouse button down, drag it to the left side of the desktop. Now I have two open windows that have maximized themselves to capture one half of my desktop evenly. Very, very cool. Snap to the right, snap to the left. And I guarantee I can do that a lot quicker than I can certainly drag the corners and the sides of the windows to hopefully get it right. This is known as Aero Snap. The other neat thing I can do with Aero Snap is I can use Aero Snap with a single window. I can drag it to the right, of course, drag it to the left. We understand that, but notice what I can do. Drag it straight up, and it maximizes and captures the entire desktop. Think about this as the maximize button, right? I can maximize it like that, or I can just simply drag it up, hit the top of the desktop, and it maximizes to capture the real estate on the entire desktop itself. That is called Aero Snap. Okay, the final feature, kind of a quirky little feature. You have to decide whether you like this one. I've kind of gotten used to it. It is called Aero Shake. A little tongue-in-cheek, a little funny little tool to use, but it's there. So let's go ahead, and this time, what do I have? I've got 4 windows opened up. Well, I'm playing with my windows, I'm doing my job, and I'm trying to, where'd that window go? Oh, there it is. I'm trying to work with my windows as best as I can, and it's just a real pain. Well, what happens if, you know what, I want to minimize these other 3 windows, but I want to keep this one open? Well, sure, I can go up and begin to click the the minus buttons to minimize the windows, and I can do all of that mess and slowly get the job done. Or I can pick the window that I want to be in focus. Let's say it's this one, the default programs window. If I capture that window, same way, bring your mouse into the border, left click it. Now this time, shake it a little bit. Notice what happened. They all went away. If I shake it again, they all come back. Kind of a funny and quirky little tool called Windows Aero Shake. So I can shake to disappear them, minimize them, shake to open them up. I can drag it to the right now, drag it to the left to use Snap, close the windows as I need, drag it up top to maximize it. Whatever I need to do. Remember, Windows Aero not only are visual enhancements, but performance enhancements as well. I hope you enjoyed this first part of the 2-part series that you'll see throughout the class. If you have any questions or would like to see further demonstrations, please email your instructor, give your instructor a call. They'll be happy to assist you. There's also some great Windows TechNet resources on Aero as well. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the remainder of your class.